Welcome back. You're watching Sunday edition here on KTN News. Now, this past week, fresh controversy has erupted over that sugar probe. That some members of parliament claiming that the final report on the sugar issues after that joint committee was given more time to put together a more conclusive report was doctored. These claims led by the Member of Parliament for Dagoretti North, Simba Arati, and his Makueni counterpart, Dan Manzo, saying that that report was edited in the distance between Panari Hotel and Parliament buildings. Our senior political affairs reporter Duncan Haimba takes a look at some of those controversies and the warpath that seems to follow that joint committee. Take a look.
A gathering storm is perhaps what is staring at the National Assembly's Joint Committee of Trade and Agriculture. The members are on a warpath, claiming that what was tabled before the House was a doctored report. So who did the alterations? Because if members had signed, at what point were alterations made?
This is the time that these people, they were doing the printing. Therefore, we believe that somebody must have sneaked in, spoke to those people who were printing, and did a complete change to get off the hook the three gentlemen we had indicted in this document.
If you've put your signature, members of parliament have signed the document, and they realize now that the document that was tabled in parliament is different from what they signed. What is that? What do you call that?
They accuse one of the co-chairs of tabling what they say is a fake report.
When we find out that there is somebody, after we have signed, he goes ahead to doctor the document, it changed the whole meaning. Therefore, we stood up, we got with the speaker, and we thanked the speaker because he listened to us. When we showed him the zero draft that we had, compared with what he had received in the House, it was a different two documents. Therefore, we agreed that specific amendments, 3 amendments, should be inserted to its original document.
The Joint Committee's chair, Kanini Kega, has dismissed their claims, accusing the members of unnecessarily vilifying the chair, which he interprets as part of the wider scheme to frustrate the committee's work.
They knew what they were doing. And you can see even when these documents are being doctored, you can see the same chairmen that were not, if you look at it, were the same chairmen that were selected, if I may put it.
It is also emerging that out of the 38 members expected to have attended the sittings, only 19 were regular participants, and some of them even declined to sign the report.
38 members, we had made sure everything had been done and had been put correctly. So if there was anything that needed to have been changed, they should have called all the members and addressed the issue that they feel that needs to be changed, which was not done.
Another committee fiasco is the Thursday scheduling of the debate on the report before it was sanctioned by the House Business Committee. The back and forth, the divisions among members of the Joint Trade and Agriculture Committee is clearly an indication of the storm awaiting the report when the whole House finally gets hold of it next. Duncan Haimba, KTN News, Parliament.
All right, let me begin with you. What do you read from these shenanigans coming out of that joint committee?
Well, I'd like to make reference to Sunday Standard again, page 9. Your colleague Rosalind Obala has done a story which would shock any rational Kenyan. That the members of the National Assembly are no different from, or rather the National Assembly is no different from a marketplace where people are selling goats and sheep. That even the Honorable Richard Onyonka, who is my MP, has said that the Parliament has now degenerated. That Parliament was doing some work with the Anti-Corruption Commission, and some members are accused of having demanded bribes from the Anti-Corruption Commission. Now, my understanding is the Anti-Corruption Commission is supposed to be fighting corruption, and members of the National Assembly are demanding bribes from that commission. There's a fellow who was supposed to be vetted.
Audacity.
Yeah, there's a gentleman who was supposed to be vetted.
Yes.
And his name was declined because, according to the story, he declined to give a bribe of 20 million Kenyan shillings. Then there's the matter of the Ruaraka, and this is where the senators come in. Francis Mburu indicates that 3 senators have gone to him demanding for money. Now, earlier on, we were asking ourselves, how many members do we have in the National Assembly? 349. Whose interest do they represent at the National Assembly? Do they represent Mora from a village in Mosocho? Do they represent Nyambura? Or do they represent cartels? When they go to the National Assembly, what are they going to do at that place? Are they making laws? Are they offering oversight? What exactly is their role? And what the Honorable Simba Arati and Dan Manza have indicated is just worrying. That members agree on a report about 40 members, and the short distance between Panari and Parliament, things have changed. And in my mind, the core issue that we must not tiptoe around is, they've said, where does the buck stop? The buck stops with Rotich, CS Treasury. Then the buck stops with Willie Bates, understand is our ambassador in India. And the buck stops with Adan Mohammed. Those three individuals, when they decided they are going to have a blanket waiver for any Tom, Dick and Harry to bring sugar to Kenya, whose interest were they pursuing? Did somebody maybe give them a khaki envelope? And those are the issues that this committee did not capture. The committee has done a report, and I've had a conversation with a number of the members. It offers a very good building block. But you begin to wonder, if the National Assembly, from what we are learning, that these guys were lining up to be given khaki envelopes, and the Speaker himself of hugs and kisses, and people are not keen to go to the crux of the matter, how can we trust what they're telling us? And you know, this idea, Ben, of blaming businessmen in Kenya, of taking advantage of opportunities created, I think it must come to an end. If you're a businessman in the sugar sector, and for some reason, the national government comes up with a funny policy, and you can take advantage of it, and it's not illegal, you know, run, take advantage, make your buck, but nobody should blame businessmen in Kenya for taking advantage of that.
All right.
But now what the president must come up with is, and crack the whip, is these guys that he appointed into office, when they were coming up with these decisions, who are they serving? Were they serving Jubilee donors? Were they serving Mora? Whose interest were they serving? That's the big question. Then number two, these honorable cabinet secretaries mentioned in this report, if they respected Kenya, they would have done resignation letters and handed them over to President Kenyatta. So when he comes back from his vacation, he can just accept resignations and go home. But now going to the germane issue, when you look at the cumulative matter, we now must go back to Musalia Mudavadi, when he indicated that we need a commission of to look at this matter. Because two members of this committee are indicating that whatever they agreed upon is not what was delivered to the Speaker. Yeah, we need to get judges, a commission of inquiry with subject matter experts to look into this. But my final point, there are many MPs from Nyanza, from Western and parts of Rift Valley, who represent about 8 million Kenyans who've been affected by this scandal. Where are those MPs? Instead of them fighting for their rights of their voters, you read in the newspaper that in a market, a restaurant, fighting over smoke and alcoholic beverages. Shame on the MPs from Nyanza province, from Western province and parts of Rift Valley, where their voters are using sugar cane rather, as firewood. Well, for them, they're enjoying single malt whiskey, and those people are dying. A number of them have committed suicide.
All right.
And again, this is a good lesson for us, that in future when you're voting for members of parliament, we shouldn't be running on party lines. Because a number of people are now on a buyer's remorse. Good point
on what's happening in parliament. Mark, we understand, our sources tell us some rules have had to be introduced in those committees that members don't escort witnesses out of, because that used to happen, and that is where
hugs and kisses.
Some people thought that's where hugs and kisses used to take place. What does this split over this report point to, from where you sit?
Well, I like your analogy. Our good Lord Jesus was betrayed by a kiss. And the truth of the matter is, when those MPs come to kiss you, millions is coming out of your pocket. Either the high priest will pay or you will pay with your life. And I'd like to answer your question, beginning with where Dismas left it. 8 million Kenyans who depend on sugarcane for their livelihood. Please note that not the government, not parliament, not anybody is talking about the fate of the farmer. And for me, my worry comes from factories such as Miwani factory, which lost over 9,000 acres way back in 2009 to a magistrate. Because now in our country, a magistrate can steal from you. So justice, Lady Justice has become the guy who figures you get on the road. That is what has happened in our country now. On top of that, we've got sugar factories in Nyanza removing their effluent right into the rivers where neither animal nor human can use that water. On top of that, we have traders who got sugar from Kismayu. We as a country have decided collectively to go insane. At the same time, we've got reports that come out one day and say there is no mercury, there is no lead, there is no copper. Or there is trace amounts of lead, copper, and mercury. Or there is, we don't understand which factory, which chemist, which laboratory tested this thing. We have CSs who have had open wars fighting against each other, saying that we don't know where it is going. The truth of the matter is this matter needs to settle. Okay? The government needs to give the people of Kenya sanity. How do we bring about sanity? Number one, all that sugar that you say is contaminated, do what you do with ivory tusks, do what you do with drugs, ban that thing, we move on. Secondly, review your licenses. These factories sugar, which became shell companies for the importation of sugar by companies that exist in London. A London company buying sugar through Sony Sugar, which has not paid its staff since Mzee Jomo Kenyatta passed on. Surely, okay, we as a just insane. So what we need to do is relook at these licenses. What kind of licenses do we need? We need licenses that empower millers who are doing the right thing to continue milling sugar, because that is not, and we're not looking at the interest of the millers here, we're looking at the interest of the farmers. The farmers need a place to take their sugar cane. So one, ban all the sugar that is not good for this country, and number two, review the licenses. All these 100+ companies that were importing sugar and they have no way of processing, they don't even have a packaging farm. Imagine if you're trying to sell sugar and you can't even put it in a bag to sell it. Okay, so ban those guys, empower your millers to be able to mill, and that is what is good for the country and good for your farmers. And the government needs to do this sooner rather than later. These suckers, they leave it for the monkeys in the forest. We human beings have things to do.
Wow. All right. Hesbon, let's go back to the reports. Do you think it will be done justice? The Speaker had to reschedule debates, saying the motion was moved unprocedurally. These claims by these two MPs, it's a big indictment, isn't it? Do you think Kenyans will see justice happen? Do you think any heads will roll?
Well, it's actually a big indictment, not just to the committee, but to the integrity of Parliament itself. And that, of course, gives us hope that when it is the entire House that is brought to the fore as having issues of integrity, then it is the onus is on the Speaker of the National Assembly to deal with it. I actually trust Honorable Justin Muturi. He has demonstrated his integrity beyond reproach, and I want to believe that he will reign on the MPs, because what is very clear is every common mwananchi that you meet along the road understands the issues, understands these cabinet secretaries who are indicted by this report. They know the people who allowed traders to import sugar outside the subsidy period, and Kenyans lost billions of shillings. And those people are still serving in government in different capacities. Two are still actually in cabinet. Now, the fact that their names were expunged, like Honorable Simbarati is saying, is a big thing, not just for the people that Honorable Simbarati is accusing, but for the entire committee. Because if you ask me, in fact, that controversy itself, that there are MPs who are sitting in one committee having different opinions about the same report, is in itself problematic, whether they are saying the truth or not. Because the picture that comes out is that if you are to look at any other issue in Parliament, all you need to do is cause confusion. Let 2 or 3 MPs have dissenting opinions, and you can get away with it. Because right now, what we are getting is that probably these MPs were not part and parcel of that brown envelope that was issued between Panari and Parliament, and that's why they're making noise. And getting to know the truth in this country sometimes is fairly difficult.
So from where I sit, I'm privileged to think that the Speaker is also seeing what we are seeing, and he will definitely act on this. Now, coming back to the issue of just the report and farmers, because no one is talking about farmers. I think it is in the interest of anyone who is interested in the sugar business, especially the farmers in the sugar belt region, to follow this keenly, because the hope and interest in farming by many farmers now rest in what happens to people who have been interfering with the sugar industry and making farmers in the sugar belt suffer. If no justice is going to be meted on these individuals, I think a number of farmers are going to give up on sugarcane farming. And I'll go back to what I've said, that if we are to sort this sugar mess, we have to go back to the government-owned milling companies, that they have to be capacitated. If there is any importation, to run the risk of having sugar that is packaged in godowns, we just have to ensure that any importation is through these government-owned millers like Sony Sugar, Moroni, Mumias, and so on and so forth.
Chumba.
I think the sugar issue has refused to go away, because as sweet as sugar is, the controversy is becoming sweet by the day. The increase of the people funding the rackets. But it is good to note that, one, I think we do not have a parliament as we speak. What we are having is we are maintaining an extortionist racket, a high-end extortionist racket. When you sit down with some of these members of parliament, they at times, somebody cannot live there without 50 million. You cannot be given a fair hearing in the committee if you do not part with 50 million. Is that what we elected these people to do? I think no. The other thing is this: when we talk about sugar, as my colleagues have ably put it, where do we have around 25 members of parliament representing the sugar belt.
Actually, more than that.
There are more than that. Let's say 30. We have not seen, or there is no clip on record of them having a press conference to press on the issues of sugar. All we hear is just blame game, shifting from here and there. How comes we have a sugar company that is importing sugar without a license? How comes we have a sugar company that is disposing its waste product on a local river, and the MP from that region does not speak? Who does he represent? Does he represent the sugar company? The people who will suffer with this? Where is NEMA in this? When we come to how can a company import sugar from Somalia? Somalia has no sugar. All they do is a transit point. So we should go further and address ourselves. The other thing that catches my eye every time there's controversy around agriculture is this gentleman by the name Tiren. What cause is Tiren pursuing? Or is it because he wanted to be a member, to be the chair of this committee?
Just hold that thought. Let's come back to that. Let's speak about, since you've raised it. Salah Steren was talking to us, talking to Duncan Haemba, saying that he has been vindicated, that his prophecy is coming to life. The reason why he was removed as chairman of the Agriculture Committee back in January. Let's listen into that.
When we showed him the zero draft that we had, compared with what he had received in the House, it was a different due documents.
Ripoti haijabadilishwa. Ripoti inawanasa wote ambao walishiriki katika biashara haramu hapa na pale, wale waliokwepa kulipa kodi. Yule ambaye aliwasaidia kukwepa kulipa kodi, hata yeye ako kizibani, hata yeye atakuwa mule ndani.
Members had signed the report, and it was very interesting that now what was found, or rather what was submitted to the House, was different from what we had agreed as a committee. We are a committee of about 38 members, and of course it is unfortunate and it is sad that a document that members have gone through for almost 1.5 months, almost it's close to 2 months, when it has reached the final stage, you find it very interesting that the report that was tabled in the House is different from what we had agreed. When the Gazette notices were opened, or when the CS signed the Gazette notices, sugar that came in was close to about 1 million, or maybe about 1 million metric tons, which is way, almost 8 or 7 times more than what we need.
Kamati yote iko pamoja, tujue kwamba kuna wengine ambao wangetaka kusabaratisha ripoti hii kwa sababu imewanasa, imewashika, na wengine ambao hawajafurahia mambo ambayo tumefanya wakati huu wangetaka kuisabaratisha. Naona hii ndio kamati ya kwanza ambayo mwenyekiti wake ni wa chama ambacho ni kinatawala kusema kwamba waziri lazima waajibike. Hilo ni hiyo ni hatua kubwa sana.
I'm very happy and I am vindicated that everything I said has come to pass. And I think I want Kenyans to judge. And I remember saying outside there when we talked the other time, I said, Kenyans will judge us and they'll judge us very harshly. And now the truth is coming out.
So Kipchumba, the Moiben MP says he has been vindicated, that what he said has come to pass. What do you think his interests are?
You know, Ben, in a committee of that nature, there are 30 members. When you keep on telling us there are members, everybody in that committee has a name. Tell us it is Kipchumba, it is Mokua, who took the bribe. Tell us when we left Panari, we gave the report to Bichachi. How it changed between here and wherever it is printed, Bichachi must tell us. Why are we, it is semantics and razzmatazz. We need to address issues. And for him as a leader, he needs to exercise perpetual optimism. He cannot be ranting year in, year out. Yes, he was supposed to be the chair, but we need solutions. It is good that he's a watchdog in the committee, but we do not need to hear things rotating around terrain. We need to hear him give a solution that this is what we had said. It have been this. The media is always around him. He ought to have just presented the real report to the media and told the media this is what we had signed. Because he's a member of the committee, as he has said, he is in a better position. He knows the true facts. He can give us the alternative facts. And singularly as a member, he has the 3 mandates: oversight, representation, and legislation. He can do that and oversight. And nobody will cite him anywhere. I'll give him free legal service in case of anything.
Hezbollah.
Stakeholders in the sugar sector, they're members of the National Assembly, including the member that Murkomen is talking about here, who people fear disclosing the names. And my understanding is members of the National Assembly are the floor of parliamentary immunity. They can say whatever they want to say. So who are these power barons that the members of the National Assembly, having maybe received khaki envelopes, do not have the guts to name at the floor of the House? That's the first question. Then number 2, why would the same members of the Assembly want to kill businesses that are thriving? And you know, I'd like to take a departure from Owila, who is saying that we should capacitate the public agencies to do business like Sony. There's a track record of failure on all these agencies. Instead of them reinvesting resources in the milling or in the businesses, they don't do that. The church has indicated there that one of these companies has not paid as a farmer a single coin. Yet understand that there is a group associated with RAI which pays farmers within 7 days. So when you have an option of those 2 organizations, which one would you go for? You get paid within 7 days, or you get paid while you are dead? But I think the most important question that the speaker needs to tell us, or he needs to crack the whip, is for him to let us know that this sector has got powerful players, that members of the National Assembly, 349, who enjoy parliamentary immunity, have no capacity to name. So you guy from Weben tiptoeing around an important issue instead of naming names. You know, for him to tell us that I gave you a warning 8 months ago, that I gave you a warning 8 months ago, why can't he name those names? Why can't he even look for Kipchumba and sign an affidavit and present it? That's why we need to go back to that commission as proposed by Musalia Mudavadi. Because right now, we are going to dance ourselves lame, and we will be consuming mercury, we will be consuming copper. And you realize from that committee, they gave a blanket statement. They said there are few incidences of sugar which is laced with these chemicals, but they didn't tell us which incidences are these.
All right, Hezbollah, have the final very quickly.
I think it is clear that even the chair of the committee has said that those names of cabinet secretaries are there, and what Honorable Tiren has always been talking about has come to pass, that these people are going to be held responsible for what they did. But I think the most important thing about this committee is that we have 3 different members of this committee, including the chair, talk, and all of them are talking in isolation. And we need to ask ourselves, is it really a committee? Do they speak from, when the chair is saying that the committee iko pamoja and he is alone in a press conference, we need to ask ourselves, how is the committee together? Then secondly, I think we also need to go back to how these committees were constituted and look at the terrain issue. He was meant to be the chair and he was elected, but somebody else was imposed. And I think that is where the problem is. There is that lack of separation between what the executive and parliament are doing. And I think going forward, we need to have a situation where when MPs get to parliament, no one should dictate who goes to what committee, because that is our biggest challenge. Because Tiren now is riding on that I was kicked out of the committee to allow somebody who can be manipulated. And it sets a very bad precedent.
A quick question to parliamentarians is this. There's a company called Holbad, which has been involved in maize scandals, now sugar scandals. For how long will we allow a company that is associated to known individuals in this country to be mentioned in report after report of messing up with our country, and yet they still have a license to exist and use state corporations such as Sony to do illegal things, where the CEO himself could not even explain where they got the money to do what they did? So as a country, we need to get a bit serious and stop tiptoeing around issues. If the panel here is courageous enough to talk about the issues as they are, what are our parliamentarians doing? And they have heavy security, they have guns to threaten each other with, and they cannot protect this country.
All right. Serious questions being raised here. Sharp divisions in that joint parliamentary committee of trade and agriculture that has been probing that sugar, those sugar issues. The co-chair, Kanini Kega, saying nothing has been doctored, saying the committee has been very much united. Not so much other members who are saying that a lot was changed and some heads were supposed to roll according to the original document, but those names were expunged. It was edited. We continue to keep an eye on this for you. The Moiben MP, Silas Tiren, former Agriculture Committee Chairman, saying he has been vindicated that he saw this 8 months ago. How much blame does Jubilee have to shoulder for this? Remember that those concerted efforts to remove some people from parliamentary positions. That is a conversation we'll continue here. Keep it up on Twitter, on social media, on hashtag KTN Sunday Edition. Let's take another quick commercial break. When we come back, 1 year after the elections, what is the state of the republic? Don't go too far.
That there is mercury in some sugar. What the committee should have done was to zero in on these people. Ask them where that sugar is, which has mercury. If those people are supposed to avail the sugar with mercury or without mercury, then the committee determines that the sugar that was spoken about does not have mercury. And that is the report we expected here. What the committee should have asked us, Mr. Speaker, and two of them, was to extend time to investigate beyond the sugar that was presented to them. But Mr. Speaker, listen to the committees. It is just a joke. This report is just a joke of the highest order. The committee even talks of reprocessing sugar. The committee even talks about, Mr. Speaker, finally, as I see it, that those who imported sugar during the period of the window which the minister gave, or the cabinet secretary, should pay taxes. How? And the cabinet secretary exempted sugar from taxes. So, Mr. Speaker, to me, to be honest, there is no need to even give these committees any extra time.